Your subconscious mind is sabotaging your financial dreams.
Your dreams?
We're going to discuss 8 ways that this happens to you every single day without you knowing it, and what you can do to take back control of your life. Let's learn. Our minds have a whole bunch of automatic shortcuts in place that have stuck around from a time where we were worried about being eaten alive by saber-toothed tigers and stuff.
People who are literally being eaten alive.
Our world now is very different. Technology has put us at the top of the food chain, but unfortunately our minds haven't caught up to our new world that we're living in. In the book Thinking Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman talks about 2 systems, System 1 and System 2, which are responsible for controlling how we process information that comes in from our 5 senses. System 1 is the fast, automatic, emotional side of our brain that kicks in whenever we're doing everyday tasks that we don't really think about. It's very fast, it's very efficient, but it's also very error-prone. System 2 is the slow, the calculated, the analytical side of our brain that kicks in whenever we're solving a problem and actively focusing on thinking about something. Our bodies are naturally designed to try and minimize the amount of energy we use to do things. What this has done has made System 2 very, very lazy. System 2 is basically that office worker that you know who just passes off their work to everyone else as much as they possibly can.
The thing is, Bob, it's not that I'm lazy.
Well, like I said before, System 1 is very error-prone, so what this does is wreak havoc on so many parts of our life, especially when it comes to personal finance. Because when it comes to money, System 2 really should be driving your decisions.
You said she's controlling, she doesn't let you make your own decisions.
These errors in judgment when System 1 takes over the driver's seat are called cognitive biases. There's literally an entire field of economics devoted to this. It's called behavioral economics. Today we're going to talk about 8 of them that relate specifically to personal finance and what we can do to combat them and keep them from wreaking havoc on your financial life. The first cognitive bias we'll talk about is loss aversion. This is where we feel the pain, the sting of a loss, much more than the joy associated with an equivalent gain. So for instance, losing $20,000 in the stock market during a market downturn,
stocks sell down, which is horrible,
feels really, really bad compared to gaining $20,000 in the stock market during a bull run. When we see that $20,000 loss, we feel compelled to sell our investment, to stem the bleeding, to stop the pain, when in reality that is probably the worst thing you could possibly do. Next we have confirmation bias. This one's a doozy. It actually affects many different parts of your life, not just personal finance, but it's still a really, really big one we need to talk about. Confirmation bias is when we are drawn towards information that aligns with our current belief system while actively avoiding, dismissing, or ignoring information that challenges our current belief system, even though that extra information that we aren't looking at might be more correct.
Consumers are mindless lemmings.
This leads to a lot of closed-mindedness and misinformation all throughout the world. It is especially prevalent on social media.
Apparently, he was misinformed.
For instance, if I think that debt is absolutely evil and I go and cut up all my credit cards and I don't want anything to do with debt, I can surround myself with people who have the exact same view as me. I can join subreddits and Discord servers and only talk to people who share my views. I can watch Dave Ramsey videos on repeat. I can make sure that I never see any information that might provide a more balanced, nuanced approach to that topic. Debt for something that loses value over time is almost universally a bad idea. I totally agree with that. But there are cases where taking out debt for something that increases in value over time can be very beneficial and actually a very good financial move for you. For instance, a mortgage rate with a very low interest can be a really good investment because the value of your house is going to increase much more than the amount of interest you're paying on that mortgage debt.
You made a very good investment, gentlemen.
Debt actually can be used as a tool to get you where you need to go. It is not necessarily a bad thing. Next, we have herding behavior. This is our tendency to go with whatever the crowd is doing without really questioning whether or not what the crowd is doing is correct.
Birds are for turds.
This kind of goes along with confirmation bias. For example, let's say you're on Twitter or X or whatever it's called, and you see a bunch of people raving about this brand new NFT project that came out. You join the Discord server for that project, you see thousands of people all excited and hyped up, and you decide, I'm going to put some money into this. I'm going to buy one of these things.
It's an NFT of Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles.
Well, 3 weeks later, the value of it tanks, you lose all your money. This is a perfect example of herding behavior. Most NFT projects are complete garbage, complete scams, designed to take advantage of that side of your brain that is more likely to follow a crowd without questioning whether or not the crowd is right. Next, we have anchoring bias, another problematic shortcut from System 1, where we are more likely to base a decision off of the first piece of information that we come in contact with. So for example, you go to a used car dealership, you see the value of the car priced at $27,995, you haggle the salesperson down to $23,000, you feel like you got a really good deal, right? Well, in reality, had you done a little bit of research beforehand, you would have found that the value of that car was actually around $18,000 or $19,000, and you ended up really getting scammed.
It's a scam!
As a side note, it's a little known fact that the best way to take control of your subconscious mind is to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Just saying. Now back to the next cognitive bias. Next, we have overconfidence bias. This is our tendency to overestimate our skills and abilities to perform a task or to predict the future.
If anything, I'm overconfident.
When I was younger, I was a math major. I thought, you know what, I don't need a budget. I can do all this in my head. I don't need to track my spending or, figure out what my income is. It all just works out. I got it all covered. What that ended up doing is getting me about $118,000 in debt after I finished college.
I'm in debt up to my eyeballs.
And it actually ended up taking about 8 years of my life to clean up my mistakes due to my arrogance and my overconfidence bias when I was younger. Be humble, realize that you do need a budget, you really do need to track your money. Don't fall victim to this trap like I did. Next, we have present bias, which is favoring immediate gratification over long-term planning.
But I want it now!
The most famous experiments are called the marshmallow experiments that get right at this idea. In general, the marshmallow experiments were conducted by taking some kids around 3 to 5 years old, putting them individually in a room, and putting a marshmallow in front of the kid. The adult then says, hey, I'm going to leave for a couple minutes. If you can hold off on eating that marshmallow until I get back, I'll give you 2 of them.
1 marshmallow, 2 marshmallow.
Well, what we've found consistently through many different samples is that about 1/3 of kids were able to hold off and not eat the marshmallow and wait for the higher reward after time passes, versus about 2/3 of the kids who were inclined to instantly eat the marshmallow after the person left the room. What the marshmallow experiments actually also showed us is that delayed gratification can be learned. It can be taught. I am a perfect example of this.
But I can learn.
I would have eaten the marshmallow every time, while my younger sister, who seemed to always have plenty of money growing up, would not have. I was more inclined to favor instant gratification, while she was more inclined to delay gratification. It's just a different mindset that we were born with, but I was able to learn over time, so hope is not lost. This comes into play anytime we impulse buy on credit cards for things that we want in the moment. It comes into play when we don't plan for our future, when we don't invest our money, when we think about YOLO culture and just living in the moment and just enjoying our time right now as it is. In reality, what you really want to do is find a balance between the two extremes there. You don't want to live for the present and blow all your money all the time and never have anything saved up for the future, never invest. But you also don't want to put your life on hold until your 60s when you're retired and just grind away and not have any kind of fun and not any kind of enjoyment. You really want to try and find some kind of balance between those two. Now we're going to talk about the availability heuristic. This is where we tend to base our decisions off of the piece of information that comes readily into our minds at the time. So this would happen when you are relying on personal testimony. Let's say that a friend or a family member who you really trust is talking about some new investment opportunity.
Great investment opportunity.
Without actually doing any research on your own, you're going to go ahead and just invest right in that opportunity just because you trusted them and you heard a really compelling personal testimony. That would be you falling victim to the availability heuristic. In general, when it comes to anecdotal evidence like that, it's really good for forming a hypothesis about something, but anecdotal evidence is absolutely terrible for forming a definitive belief about something. Obviously, when somebody tells a story or something like that to you, their experiences, everything they're saying to you is valid. It doesn't mean that that is generalizable beyond their specific situation. Finally, we have the sunk cost fallacy. This is where we let past investments in terms of time, money, or emotions dictate our future behavior. This would happen when you start a side hustle. Maybe you form a small business that just doesn't seem to be going anywhere. You've put years worth of effort and money and time and did so many sacrifices to get this business off the ground. It's your baby, but the writing's on the wall. You really should be abandoning it in favor of something new, but you just can't seem to part with it because you've put all that time and effort into it. That is the sunk cost fallacy. It hits us so many times in our life. Try to not fall victim to this one either. All right, so what do? Are we just destined to be victims of System 2's laziness? No, we are not. What we're going to do is reprogram our minds by incorporating a whole bunch of positive, correct information into System 1's process so that automatically we make good choices going forward.
We make good choices.
And the easiest way to do that is to read 6 books. Okay, this is a non-negotiable. Read them on audiobook, get them on Kindle, borrow them from a friend. I don't care what you have to do. Over the next year, you need to read these 6 books. The first book you're going to want to read is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This is a fundamental book in personal development. It's where I started 12 years ago. Still remember going to Barnes & Noble and picking up my copy of it. You need to read this first. Next, you're going to jump to Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin. This book is a bit sobering. It's kind of sad. You're going to learn that the way that you view your paycheck is probably wrong. You're making a lot less than you think you're making. It really is going to tell you the time value of money. You'll learn to respect your time and your money in a completely different way. Definitely read this. Next, you're going to read The Simple Path to Wealth or Pathfinders, either one works, by J.L. Collins. This book is a wonderful introduction to the mindset of financial independence. If you do a few things correctly over time, your money is just going to magically grow and multiply. Fourth, you're going to read The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley. This book is really, really cool. It really opens up your eyes to the fact that most people who have $1 million or more in net worth in the United States are just regular people, just like you and me. They are plumbers, they're electricians, they're school teachers, they're nurses. People who have a lot of wealth don't look like they have a lot of wealth. The 5th book you're going to read is The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, or Everything is F by Mark Manson. This is a wonderful book that really hits at all parts of your life. Any existential ideas that you might be questioning, it really opens your eyes up and gives you an answer to those. Definitely don't skip this one. Finally, you're going to read Atomic Habits by James Clear. This book is going to give you practical tips to directly reprogram System 1 and System 2 in your mind. Definitely the capstone read out of our 6 that you're going to want to check out. By reading these 6 books, you're going to reprogram how your mind works. Your subconscious is going to stop controlling you, and you're going to just start to see benefits all across your life, especially in your personal finances. That's all I have for today. If you found this video useful, like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.